Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew George, and I am a sociology and sport management senior at BW. And the title of my project is Invisible Impact, the relationship between sport arenas and their surrounding neighborhoods. And so to give you a overview of what my project is about, is I looked at the Cleveland Cavaliers, Detroit Pistons, and Milwaukee Bucks and assessed the extent to which the renovations for each of their arenas, which have been done over the course of the last 5 years, had a positive impact on their cities and their surrounding neighborhoods. And so why I chose basketball arenas in particular is arenas can have this ability to host such a wide range of events beyond just sporting events. So different concerts and things of that nature throughout the year, and especially in these colder Rust Belt cities that I chose, this is especially pertinent. And each of these cities also has had at least two major league teams since the inception of their professional leagues. So, for example, Cleveland has had the Cavs, the Browns, the Guardians, Detroit with the Pistons, the Tigers, Lions, and Milwaukee with the Brewers and the Bucks. And so some prior research around this topic that has been done has shown that when a simplistic model is implemented, so just looking at the effects of the renovations on the city on a broader scale, so the city as a whole and different factors that contribute to economic development and growth, positive economic impact is observed. However, when different social factors are considered, as well as specific neighborhoods are assessed, economic impact by many has been seen to be considered a myth in many sorts, especially when considering how a lot of these public funding projects are pitched by team owners and local and state politicians. And so within the premise of my study, the percentage of public funding for Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse was 38%, the same for Little Caesars Arena, while Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee had almost 50% of it paid for by public funding at 47.7%. And the methods that how I went about really just doing this study was I wanted to gather data that's accessible to anybody, really, the general public. So what would go into shaping a voter's decision for deciding if they want to support potential tax increases that would lead to public funding for these arenas. So why would the average voter support renovations, and understanding the data that's available at their disposal in making this decision? And that's all the rate poverty rates and everything I'll get into is all available online for anybody to look at through different websites. So that is how I went about gathering data for my project. And so the first component I looked at was poverty. And so I looked at the 2021 ASPE poverty guidelines as a base for assessing the poverty rates by city, metro, and year. And as you can see down here, poverty rates actually decreased each year in every city on that broader range of the city metro, with Detroit being the only exception, with a slight increase from 2019 to 2020 from 32.0% to 33.2%. Unemployment tells a similar story, where unemployment rates have decreased for each city metro from 2016 before the renovations to 2022 after the renovations for each arena. And they decreased by an average of 0.9% per city, with Detroit having the highest unemployment rate at 16.5% in 2016 and 15.7% in 2022. And the two other components that I looked at were household income and property value. So household income had increased in Cleveland and Detroit from prior and after the renovations, and Milwaukee was the only exception where it decreased notably from 57,332 to 53,155. So this was the only component out of all the factors I looked at that had a notable decrease, with the exception of Detroit that I just touched on by that slight increase in poverty from 2019 to 2020. So lastly, average property value by city metro increased across every city pretty exponentially as well, where Cleveland had a $51,624 increase, and Milwaukee nearly $68,000 over the course of those 6 years from before the Fiserv Forum was renovated to after. And so what really I found out by looking at all these different components is, from that simplistic view, a positive economic impact can be observed, but limitations within this is poverty, in particular within those COVID relief packages that were implemented due to the pandemic, actually helped lift a lot of people out of poverty. So kind of helping explain the poverty decrease across these cities, as well as the data provided was not only on city metro was only on city metro population, so not specific zip codes, so limiting the knowledge that we have of specific neighborhoods that could be in lower income neighborhoods, and on understanding the economic impact for those individuals living within zip codes that aren't in the immediate vicinity of the arenas. And lastly, social factors influencing data. Anytime you look at a topic and a concept as complex as poverty, given the social, cultural, and economic roots of the issue, there are several factors that can be influencing those numbers as well, which were not explored beyond the components that I discussed. And so given all this and given what we know from this simplistic broader view, some future recommendations that need to be done is there needs to be a deeper level of analysis to assess the extent to which this impact is felt across residents in the city. And so a way to do this would be to assess the spatial effect of generating 800 yard bands, different geographic increments within these specific zip codes, and assessing when this impact kind of starts to deteriorate and is not felt among residents of the city who are still paying for public funding for they're paying tax dollars for these arena renovations. And then lastly, three components that would need to be analyzed are eviction rates, neighborhood crime rates, and racial demographics, just providing more information of the who is being but really benefiting from these renovations and the economic impact. And so that is my presentation. I would really like to thank Dr. Dale Shaptak, my project mentor, for helping just guide me through all this research and helping me put together this poster. And without his help, this research wouldn't have been possible. So thank you, Dr. Shaptak, and thank you for listening to my presentation.